It is day 16, the last of our morning sessions. It is 1 o'clock here in Melbourne and a little bit further in time into the future where Caelan is, and because he's in New Zealand. Caelan Huntress is an American digital nomad living in New Zealand and has spent 10 years running an online business while traveling the world with his young family. He now teaches speakers and anyone that wants to learn how to have more engaging sessions online, which is why we're here. We're going to talk about play. When I joined this session, Caelan was juggling. So hold on to your hats. Hold on to your hats. This is going to be a lot of fun. And welcome, everybody. And Caelan, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Julia. Hi, everyone. It's great to spend some time with you today. I'm really excited about talking to you about Zoom and some of the ways that we can use play to banish Zoom fatigue. But first, I want to know how everybody's feeling right now. For those of you who are watching this live, go ahead and type a number in the chat box and let me know on the CAT scale, where are you today? Are you number 5? Are you jazzed and ready to go? Are you number 9? You're kind of goofy. Are you number 3? Are you tweaking out? Are you 6? Go ahead and type a number in the chat box and let me know which cat do you identify with the most today. Josie says she's a 5. Got a couple of 5s. Great. A 9 and a 4. Yep, got to be a 4. Excellent. Yeah, we all come to these Zoom meetings bringing our own mood. And the mood that you're in right now might be a different mood than you're in an hour from now, or a day from now, or a week from now. So anytime we host a meeting, we've got to be prepared for all of these cats. Any one of these cats could be here. And getting prepared and doing things for these different types of cats, this is one of the things that play is going to help us do. So now I want to ask one more question of you. And I'd like to know, and type your answer in the chat box here, what's the hardest thing about meeting virtually? Type your answer in the chat box, but don't hit enter yet. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Write your answer. What's the hardest thing? Don't hit enter yet. Hit enter in 3, 2, 1. Hoping people are truly present. Trying to get a word in. Reading the room. Boy, has that ever changed. You can't read the room on Zoom. The best you can do is read the Zoom. Being able to connect the way you do in person. Feeling you need to dress up, even if you really don't want to. Yeah, reading the room. These are all valid problems. And we're going to talk about a bunch of these today when we talk about why play is the antidote to Zoom fatigue. Now, in order to demonstrate these lessons, I'm going to ask you to participate in some activities. In this first one, I'd like you to rate yourself in how confident you feel in leading a Zoom meeting. And to rate yourself, you're going to use the stamp tool. This is a native Zoom tool. You need to find the annotation toolbar. It might be right there in your Zoom toolbar. It might say annotate or whiteboard, but you may need to go to that green view options dropdown. Right next to where it says you're viewing Caelan Huntress's screen in green. Next to that, there's view options with a dropdown, and you can go there to find the annotation toolbar, or you might need to look for those 3 little buttons that say more at the end. Find the annotation toolbar and select a stamp and rate yourself from low to high. How confident are you in leading a Zoom meeting? Go ahead and put one of the stamps here on the toolbar. Great. Yep. Some modest confidence, some high confidence. Yep. Yep. Great. Excellent. Okay. Now I'd like to ask you another question. How confident do you feel in leading a meeting in person? When there's people in a room with you, if you have to lead the meeting, where's your confidence on this scale? Is it higher? Is it lower? Meeting people in person, where do you fall on this scale? Great. Great. Now I'd like to know on this third line, how confident are you in leading a game on Zoom? If I said, okay, we're going to play a game and you're going to lead it, where's your confidence level? Are you up at the top? Are you at the bottom? How confident are you in leading a game on Zoom? Great, some good variety here. Now I'd like to know, how confident are you on playing with your family around the dinner table? If I said, sit down and play a board game with your family, how confident do you feel that you'd be able to successfully pull that off in person around a table? Yes, lots of high confidence here. Great. Great. Okay, now I'm going to clear all of these drawings because look, if I just scroll through, they stay here. So as I come to the next one, I'm going to clear all these drawings. Thank you for participating. And I'm going to go through a quick agenda of what we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to talk about Zoom fatigue, what it is, why it happens, and how we can guard against it. Then I'll talk to you about the power of play and how we can use this to protect our meetings from Zoom fatigue. And then I'll go through some fun games that you can lead on Zoom. So everybody here knows what Zoom fatigue is, right? It's that state that psychologists call continuous partial attention, where you're not paying attention to any one thing in front of you because there's so many things that have split your attention. You're not just participating in this meeting with me, you're also checking emails in the background and scrolling through your phone, and you might have kids or pets in the other room. There's all sorts of things competing for your attention. And when I ask you to come and sit here with me and pay attention for another hour, it's easy to get tired. And Zoom fatigue has 4 major contributing factors. And the first problem is that all of our Zoom meetings happen in the same place. There's a remote work consultant by the name of Gian Pietro Petriglieri, and he said, imagine if you went out to a bar to meet your professor, and that's the same bar where you met your date and your parents and your kids and your coworkers. Wouldn't that be weird to meet with all these different people in the same place? And that's what we're doing now in Zoom. We're all meeting in this same Zoom grid. We don't get the variety of getting up in between meetings and changing our environment. Everything looks the same. The second problem is that this same place where we're meeting is one click away from highly addictive social media technology. I'm not just trying to keep your attention. I'm competing for your attention against your email notifications and your Facebook feed and everything else that's demanding your attention, that was designed by highly educated social engineers. The people who designed these email notifications, they know the tone that's most likely to grab your attention. And that's what I'm competing against to try and earn your attention today. The third problem is that all this technology is new for us. Not just as the leaders of the meetings, but the participants also have to be educated on anything you want them to do. That stamping exercise we did in the beginning, I had to take the time to educate everybody on how to do that exercise. If I just threw everybody in and said, okay, we're going to stamp now, some of you might know how to do it and some of you won't. But in order to facilitate a meaningful experience, I have to take the time to educate everyone in the audience on how to use the tool. And the fourth problem I see is the lack of movement. We calcify into these chairs. We spend so much time sitting in meeting after meeting that it keeps our bodies from the natural rejuvenation that we used to get when we would get up and go to the water cooler, when we would change rooms from one place to another. And so these are the 4 problems that I see as leading to Zoom fatigue. And I'd like to know, which one do you face the most? Go ahead and type a number in the chat box and let me know which one you find the most personally challenging. Is it the monotony of place? Type number 1. Is it compulsive distraction? Type number 2. If it's learning new tech, type number 3. And if it's lack of movement, type number 4. Seeing some 4s, seeing some 2s, lots of 4s. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the good news is all of these problems can be resolved with play. Play is an invitation to joy. Play changes our state. It gives us a way to enjoy our work deeply. And I love what Viola Spolin said. She wrote a book called Theater Games for the Classroom, and she did a lot of work in theatrical improvisation. And she said that play touches and stimulates vitality, that it awakens the whole person, their mind and body, their intelligence and creativity, their spontaneity and intuition. And isn't that what we want in a Zoom meeting? Don't we want people to bring their whole selves? We don't want just a slice of everyone who's present. It's best if we can get everybody here, their whole selves, their mind and body, intelligence and creativity, their spontaneity and intuition. And I'll give you an example on how we can do that. We're going to play a game. And I'd like everybody who's watching live to turn your camera on if you want to play this game. And we're going to come into gallery view. There's this view button in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom screen where you can toggle between speaker view and gallery view. And I'd like you to come into gallery view now so that we've got a grid so that we can see everybody who's present. Great. Thank you, everybody who's attending live and is willing to play. It's great to see you. We're going to play a game called High Fives to the Side. And there's 2 parts to this game, okay? The first part is you want to see where the boundaries of your box are. If you were going to give a high five to one side or another, take your hand up and just see where those boundaries are. If you're going to do a high five over here and over there, see where your sides are, okay? Great. That's the first part of this game, is seeing where the sides of your box are. The second part of this game is turning your camera on and off. There's this button in your Zoom toolbar that says stop video. Hit that button a couple times and show me that you know how to turn your camera on and off, okay? Great. Great. Okay, so now bring your cameras on. Now we know the 2 parts to this game. You know where the boundary is on each side, and you know how to turn your camera off, okay? When I count to 3, we're all going to do high fives to one side or the other, all right? If you connect, leave your camera on. But if somebody leaves you hanging, if you give a high five and they don't give you one back, turn your camera off, okay? You ready? 1, 2, 3. Give a high five. All right. Did you connect? If you connected, leave your camera on. If you didn't connect, turn your camera off. Okay? This shuffle. Oh my gosh, look at this. Here we are. The final champions already. Hooray. Everybody bring your cameras back on and give a round of applause to Temra. Hooray. So did anybody notice that you saw people connect who turned their cameras off? Yeah? And did you see, like, did anybody see me left hanging or Tamara left hanging and we left our cameras on? Why do you think that happened? Somebody take yourself off mute and tell us why that happened.
Everyone's gallery view is different.
Bingo. Everybody's gallery view is different. You're absolutely right. And this is true not just practically, but also metaphorically. What you see in a Zoom grid is not what everybody else sees. when you're sharing slides, when you're facilitating a conversation, when you're trying to connect with somebody, what you see is different. And what everybody brings to the meeting is going to be different. So now we're going to play another game. And this one is rock, paper, scissors. Okay, so to do this game, you got to practice these 3 moves. Show me you can do a rock and show it to the camera, a paper and show it to the camera, and a scissors. Okay, so you can see all 3 of these: rock, paper, scissors, right? Okay, you've got these. So the way we're going to do it is everybody's going to play against me. I'm going to go rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and pick one on shoot. You pick one and I pick one on shoot. If you beat me, leave your camera on. If we tie and we pick the same thing, leave your camera on. But if I beat you, turn your camera off. Does this make sense? Everybody got it? Okay, so we're going to do the first round: rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, it's scissors. If you tied me, keep it up. Oh, and Lanny beat me. Well done, Lanny. So everybody stays in this round. Let's do another round: rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Paper. Everybody pick paper. Hooray! This is how we do applause in American Sign Language. Round of applause. Hooray! We're going to do another round: rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ooh, the rocks got beaten. So turn your cameras off, rocks. All right, so now we're down to 3. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Ooh, Julia's out, leaving Temra the victor once again. We're going to do the final round. You ready, Temra? You and me, we're going to do this. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, it's a tie. Okay, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, you beat me. I'm out. Temra is the winner. Everybody bring your cameras back on.
I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket. This is great.
You didn't know you'd be a winner today, but that's the great thing about games, is that we get winners. I want you to check in with yourself right now. Listen to your emotional state. How do you feel? Type it in the chat box. Let me know how you feel. Even if you weren't playing, you're just lurking and watching with your camera off, type an emotion in the chat box. Just one word. How do you feel? Oh, your face hurts. Oh, I'm sorry, Julia. Didn't mean to cause you pain. Got some happy, some better, some energized. Yeah. Yeah, and this is what we can do for our meeting participants. Playing a game is an act of generosity. It's prioritizing the emotional state of the other participants in the virtual room. And there's some amazing things that happen when we do this. Here, let me come back over to my slides so that we can talk about what happens here when we do this. There was a study done in 2006 by Pellegrini and Holmes, and they did some memory tests on elementary school age children before and after a 20-minute recess break. And they found that their cognitive load was increased. They were able to remember more complicated information, and they could retain the information for longer periods of time. So they said, let's dig deeper into these findings and let's repeat the experiment with a physical education class. And they didn't get the same results. Because it turns out what increases your mental capacity, it isn't physical movement, it's play. Unstructured, improvisational play. The key hallmark of a game is that you decide whether or not to participate. You decide on the swing set when you get bored and to go to the seesaw. Nobody can tell you when it's the right time to do that. Your own intuition is your guide while you play. And when you let your intuition guide you, it increases your mental capacity. Melissa Dinwiddie is a facilitator in the heart of Silicon Valley, and she works with top-level executives at companies like Facebook and Uber, and she brings them into games, these high-powered type A people. And they said to her one day, "Why do you make us play these games?" And she said that when it's used strategically, play is how we make work more effective. We've all been in a meeting where everybody's got Zoom fatigue, and technically we're there, but nothing really gets done. Imagine the difference if you take a 5-minute break to play a game, how much more effective you could be when you come back to the meeting energized. Whenever you lead a meeting, your energy leads the group energy because of a scientific phenomenon known as the bandwagon effect. And the bandwagon effect says that psychologically we're predisposed to mimic the dominant energy in a room. If I was bored and unenthusiastic and distracted, the likelihood that you would do the same thing is very high. So when I lead a meeting, I don't consider myself a thermometer measuring the temperature of a room. I consider myself a thermostat setting the temperature of a room. When you set the temperature, you can define how hot things get. And as we know, heat is what creates friction. It's what allows movement. And in a Zoom meeting, we have this overlap of the tech, the conversation, and the agenda. Mastering all three of these is how you get a good Zoom meeting. If you're really clear on the agenda and you can facilitate great conversations, but you stink at the technology, the meeting is going to have mixed results. You need all three of these. And this is critical in the beginning because meetings continue how they begin. If I started this meeting in confusion, wait a minute, can you see my slides? Wait, am I on mute? Hang on a sec. I'm trying to get, if I started that way, we would continue that way. Because the momentum that you set in the beginning is much easier to keep than to change momentum halfway through. If I asked you to use the chat box for the first time right now, 25 minutes into the meeting, the likelihood would be very low that anybody would do it. But I've warmed you up. You've already used the chat box a number of times because I used it in the beginning. So if there's something you want to do later in your meeting, find a way to structure it early. And you've got to get comfortable with the technology. If you're either going to feel confused because you're not sure how to use it, or you're going to feel competent because you've done it a few times before. If you practice with it, you can feel comfortable. But what we really want is we want you to feel confident. Because if you feel confident, you're going to enjoy the meeting. You're going to set the temperature high. And because of the bandwagon effect, people are going to mimic your energy. If as far as you can get is comfortable, you can facilitate discussion, but it's always going to feel like work. If you're competent, you can demonstrate things. But if you're leading a meeting and you're confused, you're just going to be preoccupied with troubleshooting the whole time. And if you're troubleshooting, people are going to resist participating because you've set the temperature so low, they don't want to interact. If you're competent, they'll observe what you're doing. If you're comfortable, they'll participate. But when you're confident, that's when people really engage. Confidence is magnetic. Displaying confidence in a Zoom meeting is going to help people connect with you. And that's what we really want. We don't want to bring all these people together from all these different places in the world to sit here and waste time. We want to make the most out of the time that we've got. And I find that you get the most leverage for this at the beginning of the meeting. I like to start my meetings with something known as an unofficial start. And an unofficial start is an icebreaker exercise. And you can do these from a few minutes before the meeting begins to a few minutes after the meeting starts. Because in this period of time, not everybody's going to show up. You can have them sit in a waiting room, or you can open the meeting and have people come in, but you can't deliver critical content during this period. Somebody might get the notification at the top of the hour, oh, I've got a meeting. I'm going to click on it, and oh, I've got to update Zoom, and oh, I've got to get this thing done. And so it's going to take people a few minutes to arrive. You can't start at the exact starting time of your meeting just because of the technology. And so I look at this as an opportunity. How can we take this dead zone right around the top of the hour and create something that makes people want to interact? Priya Parker wrote a book called The Art of Gathering, and she said that your opening should be a kind of pleasant shock therapy, that it should grab people, and in grabbing them, both awe them and honor them, and make them feel totally welcomed and deeply grateful to be there. That's the sort of thing you can start your meeting with. If you set the temperature to this level, your meeting will continue how it began. When I look at the beginning of the meeting, that's when the Zoom fatigue, this ice that's calcifying everyone around us, that's when it needs to be broken through. And your content, the agenda, that's this big barge that's stuck in the ice. This little tugboat out in the front. That's the connection you make with your audience. If you're bringing a meeting together and you're saying, hey, everybody, we've got all this stuff to do. First, let's check in. It breaks the ice so that this big agenda you have coming behind, there's room for it to come in. This is why so many meetings start with, where in the world are you? Type it in the chat box and let me know, because it gets people to connect right away. Chad Littlefield says that the shortest distance to engagement is connection before content. If you really want to engage with the people in your meeting, connect with them first. There's a whole library of opening exercises that you can use. And I'm going to put this link in the chat box. This is from Mural. And Mural is a whiteboard program that's integrating with Zoom. They recently took on a bunch of funding. And I think the reason why the Zoom whiteboard isn't as advanced as it could be is because they're bringing Mural in and they're folding it into the Zoom tech. My prediction is later this year, we're going to see a lot of Mural and Zoom overlap. But they've got this list of online warm-ups and energizers that you can use. And you can just scroll through here and find a good exercise that you can use in one of your meetings. I've also got a Zoom host checklist, which I'll give you at the end of the presentation. And it's got some of the games that we played today, as well as a list of additional games and exercises you can facilitate during a meeting, as well as best practices that you can use before, during, and after your Zoom meeting. But for right now, I wanna go into breakout rooms. I wanna ask questions of everybody. And this is gonna be another game. And I'm going to put the instructions here in the chat box. So if you're watching this with cameras off, be warned, you're about to go in a breakout room, and you're welcome to come on camera or to leave your camera off, whatever you like. And if Julie, if you could please launch some breakout rooms with 2 people per breakout room. The instructions are in the chat box. You want to find out how many things you have in common. You'll have 2 minutes. Keep score of how many things everyone in your breakout room has in common. Welcome back, everyone. Type a number in the chat box and let me know how many you got. What was your score in the breakout room? Got a 10 and a 9 and a 13. Tenra, you are cleaning house today, winning 3 in a row. Congratulations.
Oh, that's really funny. Well done, Melinda, as well. I'll share that one with you.
Oh, that was great. So what we just saw was the difference between speaking and facilitating. And when you're speaking, you're talking at people. It's a one-way communication. But when you're facilitating, you're creating a conversation. Facilitating comes from the Latin root word facilis, which means easy to do or doable. And I'm going to share a whiteboard here because I want to go through the different stages in participant engagement. Okay. The bare minimum is somebody is passive. They're just listening to you. They're not really paying attention. They're just, they have you on and they're not too distracted. Okay. I'm going to make this bolder and a little bigger. People are just listening. And I'm going to make this passive, bolder. I can't do that. Okay. So people are passive or they are reactive. If you can get somebody to react, they move a step up this ladder because they're responding to what you want them to do. Okay. Now, if we said that listening was worth 0 points, then responding would be worth 10 points so that people are suddenly paying attention to you. But we naturally go down this ladder. Our natural inclination is to get distracted. And I don't like that bold. That looks too, I don't want the distracted to be taking over. It's too distracted. But when people get distracted, they start ignoring you. And we naturally go down here. You could say that for every minute that people aren't doing something, they're likely to get distracted. And so if you ask for a response, you earn 10 minutes of attention. But after 10 minutes of them not paying any attention, or of them not interacting with you, they're going to start ignoring you. You're going to start losing their attention. And the reason why this happens is for the same reason that Mad Libs works. Does everybody know what Mad Libs are? Raise your hand if you've seen a Mad Libs before. No? You don't have those in Australia? Okay, Mad Libs. Yeah, Tamara's seen them? Okay. So they're fill in the blank paragraphs. And you ask people to contribute. Give me a noun, give me a verb, give me an adjective, and then you use these to fill in the blanks. And then you get this absurd, silly story. And it's a story that's funny because you helped contribute to it. But if you share this story with somebody else, it might be weird, but it's not funny because you didn't participate in it. It's the participation that really makes it worthwhile. If you're talking to 6 other people and you're talking at them because it's a one-way communication, there's 6 lines of communication. But if you take those same 6 people and you facilitate a discussion, there's 21 lines of communication. And that's what a Mad Libs does, is it helps people get invested in the outcome. There's a company called Playworks, and it's run by someone named Jill Violet, and she says that play matters because people matter. That it reminds us of our interdependence and gives us a chance to really see other people. And in turn, to be really and truly seen. So now we're going to take a moment to see each other. So if you want to play this game, it's called a scavenger hunt. Turn your camera on if you want to play. And I want you to look around your environment and find something that you keep on your desk that serves no practical purpose. But you keep it there because it's a reminder of who you want to be or who you really are. Find that object. It's something that you keep nearby and show it to the camera. This is mine. And Louise has a model golf cart. And Tamra has a deck of creator cards. And Lonnie has a teddy bear. And Julia has a Skittles cup. Yeah. This is what we all chose. Do you see something different in the people around you? A scavenger hunt's a really easy game to do. We'll do another one. Everybody look around and find something blue. Find something blue and hold it up to the camera. Who's got something blue? Yeah? Blue and a blue screen, which makes it invisible. Great, great. Now find something that your parents would not understand. If you showed it to your parents, they wouldn't understand what it is. Yeah? Ooh, a Stream Deck. They'd totally get confused by that. Yeah. Yeah, an adapter. Yeah. Yeah, the wire. Yeah. Yeah. Now check in with yourself. After that activity, do you feel Zoom fatigue right now? No. Play is the antidote to Zoom fatigue. Just by playing a 1-minute game, hey, everybody, look at this. Hey, let's all do this together. You can take Zoom fatigue away. And I'm going to go through the theory behind why this works, and then we're going to wrap it up and go into some Q&A. But I want you to clarify the different types of meetings that we can have on Zoom. A 1-to-1 Zoom meeting is a conversation. A many-to-one Zoom meeting is like a town hall. I show up, everybody asks questions, and I answer those questions to everyone. Many-to-many is a discussion. We can facilitate these well in breakout rooms, or we can just have a whole big, everybody raise your hand, and we'll all participate. But what a lot of people do is they get stuck in this corner for presentation. And they think because I'm leading the meeting and I set the agenda, I have to present to everyone. And there's a real challenge with this corner, because this is what YouTube does. This is what Netflix does. They create content and then you consume it. It's a one-to-many method of communication. What we have here on Zoom is we have the unique ability to do many-to-one. And your meeting, I know your agenda is great, and I know you've got really important topics to talk about, but that Netflix show has a really high production value. And you can't compete with them if you're doing a one-to-many meeting. But a many-to-one meeting has something really unique, and that's the present moment. This present moment that we're sharing right now, everybody who's watching this live, we're sharing synchronous time. If you're watching this on the replay, you're watching this asynchronously. I'm creating a piece of content and you're consuming it at a different point in the future. And that's what YouTube does. That's what Netflix does. But what Zoom has as a unique advantage, something that YouTube cannot do, something that Netflix cannot do, something we can only do in a live meeting, is we share the present moment. And that's why meetings work best as a facilitation. Don't talk at your participants. Play a game with them, involve them. It's like Benjamin Franklin used to say, if you tell me, I forget. If you teach me, I may remember. Involve me and I learn. This is what we can do with play, is we can involve our participants to such a deep level that they can't help but pay attention. They move up that engagement ladder because you're asking them for reactions. So that brings us to the end of our presentation today for the VID conference. I really appreciate all the time that we spent together today. And I'd like to stick around for some questions. So if anybody has any questions about Zoom or about facilitating, I'd be happy to chat with you about it. How do you game a business subject? Great question, Louise. A business subject, anything can be turned into a game. If you have the framework of a game and you use the topics of the business in the game, like for instance, a Mad Lib. There's a great free resource called flippity.net where you can make your own online Mad Libs. And you can create one that's themed around the topic of the meeting or of the business. What I would do is I would start with a game framework, like if it's a guessing game or a question game or a selection game, whatever the frame of the game is, and then rewrite the game to incorporate the content. Does that make sense? Great. So I'm going to put a link here in the chat box for the Zoom host checklist. If you go to zoomhousechecklist.com, you can subscribe to my newsletter and get this detailed 16-page PDF that goes through a lot of the games we played today, as well as best practices for before, during, and after a Zoom meeting.